Thank you for staying with us. We're now looking at leading in uncertain times. But just before we do that, someone who took a step here, Yusuf Arolambo says, I did a research on using remote sensing to detect cannabis plantation. He says, let NDLEA reach out to the Office of the Surveyor General of the Federation for more on this. That's coming from Yusuf Arolambo. I did a research on using remote sensing to detect cannabis plantation. NDLEA, he says, you should reach out to the Office of the Surveyor General of the Federation for more on this. Okay, so leading in uncertain times. GOTNI Leadership Institute, or Leadership Center, is a non-governmental focused on redefining Africa's approach to leadership. It is gearing up for 2 days of virtual leadership training taking place. That's next week. And we have the Leadership Development Coach, a representative from GOTNI Leadership Center, joining us, Mr. Linus Okorie. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Okorie.
Thank you very much, my brother, and then good morning to Nigerian people.
So in the next few days, you're hosting a virtual leadership program, a leadership training program. Tell us about that.
So in times like this, we all woke up one morning and from every major city of the world, the term COVID-19 hit everybody by surprise. And so the aggression of the information, the passion, the commitment of the media in driving it, at the end of the day, had a lot of impact on the minds of, people all over the world. I mean, people became afraid, the fear of the unknown, anxiety, and high level of depression, began to, hit the people. And so even leaders became paranoid. And when the leader is paranoid, who takes the lead? It is in view of this that we began to think into the future to say, hey, wait a minute. If this crisis is over, COVID crisis is over, what will be the economic situation in our country and countries in Africa and around the world? And so it is in that reality that we began to think about hosting a global leadership training that will focus on getting people to be able to develop certain skills that would help them cope with the challenges that will come post this crisis. And so the theme of this conference or training is facing the future without fear and leading in uncertain times. And so we even thought about, let's get some authorities, some very powerful people that would drive this process. And that's why we reached out to a great man, Tracy. Tracy is an author of several books who is making waves around the world. And the first person that has written extensively on leadership in times of crisis. So the great Tracy will be leading this leadership training session with people like George Fraser from the U.S., Christine Cripps from Canada, Lanre Olushola from Nigeria, and myself. And the GOTNI Leadership Center here in Abuja is going to be driving that process. So we want to begin to think ahead that there are important leadership ideas that are key in times like this. Mind leadership is important. Business leadership is important. Personal leadership is important. Organizational leadership is important, as well as community and national leadership. So that means that every individual that is listening to me today, you have the opportunity to say, you know what, how do I reinvent my business? How do I reinvent my organization? How can I get my people to be able to think differently, to be able to act differently in times like this, where the resources are now very scarce? How do we mobilize the people to be able to meet the objectives of our organizations? And this requires very sound leadership development training. And, this is why this is the most important training that will happen, this time in this part of the world.
Okay. Mr. Correa, the GOTNI Leadership Center, it's not new. You've always had, it's like an annual conference you have about this time of the year. So, indeed, the pandemic has caused some reinventing here. So tell us a bit about the plans of GOTNI to see a sustainability of this situation, so to speak, this new reinventing process.
So very important. It is important for me to say that Guardians of the Nation International, that is driving conferences around the country, has, gone a step further to set up the GOTNI Leadership Center, which is, away from the conferencing, it's now institutionalizing leadership development. And so, usually we institutions will send our very best to Harvard University, to Kennedy School of Government, to different institutions in the world. But today, I want to, state clearly and proudly so that these 25 years of our pushing leadership developments has yielded fruits. That right now in the city of Abuja, we have set up the most comprehensive leadership center, leadership institution that, Nigeria can save money now, with local content, with over 25 courses that we teach at our leadership center, with the best of faculty within and outside this country. We can now train in Nigeria at a rate that will, compete favorably with international rate. And take, for instance, that, in November, I went to San Diego to spend 4 days with Brand Tracy. I paid $10,000 to be able to have away from my air ticket. Imagine how much money government can save if we can now have training right here in Abuja in a most comprehensive faculty and facility that has, top-notch global leadership training, facilities within our institution. Imagine now that we are now giving people the opportunity to say, with $100, for instance, you can now participate in a global leadership training that is a certificate program. And at the same time, anywhere you are in the world, in your bedroom, you can, in your parlor, you can just connect via Zoom and spend 2 days of learning, a learning that will help reorganize your mind process. If you have teams working with you, this is the best time to be able to say, you know what, I would want to sponsor and send a couple of members of my team so that they can develop the mindset that is needed in times like this. You require, a resilient mindset that is filled with vision and high level of commitment to be able to survive these times. You cannot have the same thinking that you have had all these years, and you think the same thinking will take you to the next level. In the new normal, it is impossible. And so that is why we are looking into a system whereby government officials will begin to invest in this type of training and say, let's go and hear from the best of the world. Learn from the very best of the world. It's a learning system so that at the end of the day, we will develop the kind of capacity that is needed to be able to drive government policy to the next level. Business owners who are going to be worse hit by the challenges that we're facing right now will also begin to find new ways of reinventing themselves and repositioning their businesses, to be able to compete in the marketplace. For me, I think that, the GOTNI Leadership Center is ready to drive this process, and we are asking anyone listening to me today, you have a chance to say, I want to be part of, history. I want to be part of those that will listen to Brand Tracy, George Fraser, Christine Cripps, Lanre Olushola, and Linus Okorie. 5 days of intensive learning system is unbelievable.
Okay. When is this training starting, and how can one register?
Okay, so good. So the GOTNI Global Leadership Training is starting on Monday, Monday and Tuesday, 6 p.m. daily. In fact, 6 to 9 p.m. daily. So it's a 3-hour learning system per day. And then it's going to run for 2 whole days specifically. And anyone who is interested to participate, what you can do is to go to our website, www.gotni.africa, www.gotni.africa, or you actually send a text message to this number, 081-5791-9770. I repeat the number again, 081-579-19770. So you send a text message, just $100, you have your seat. And, the seats are now limited, and at the end of the day, you will be part of history. I want to say this. A parent called me a few days ago and asked me, can I send, my children that are above 18 years of old? I said, this is the best gift you can give to your grown-up child right now, or your son or daughter, even those working for organizations, is to say, I want to sponsor them to be part of this history-making event. And the more they come in, you develop a new set of young women and young people and managers and operational leaders who are coming with high level of speed in their thoughts, in terms of new mindset and very powerful way of thinking. And I want to also say this. There's a gentleman called Hey Mote. Hey Mote was the gentleman that was giving the opportunity of privatizing 700 companies, government-owned companies in former Eastern Germany. And, he was giving about 32 staff to do that, with 1 or 2, to be able to privatize 1 or 2 companies per day. When he succeeded in doing it, and they asked him, how did you succeed in this? And he simply said, there are no models. There are no models. What has happened, what COVID-19 has brought to the world is something that, literally was unexpected. The world will never remain the same. Therefore, it is your responsibility at this point in time to developing your leadership competencies as an individual, and ensure that members of your team, private companies, banks, institutions, must invest now like never before in the leadership competencies of their team members. Government institutions must invest like never before in the leadership competencies of their people, so that at the end of the day, we will be able to have people ever ready, people always reinventing in the process, people doing things differently with passion and commitment, so that at the end of the day, we can bet new companies, we can bet new processes, and things will be much more different as a result of the kind of investment we have made in our mind. So this is an opportunity that we have brought to you.
So you said registration is at www.gotni.africa. There you do your registration. But the question, one final question is there a chance for those who can't afford $100 or $199?
So what we're going to do is that if there are Nigerians who are passionate about investing in leadership development, you can also call us and say you want to sponsor as many people as possible. We would provide scholarships for those people as well. So the wealthy individuals in this country, must not also just give charity. They should also invest in the minds of people. There are a lot of people who are ready to participate because this is purely a leadership institution, and we have subsidized it in a way that so many people can afford it. But those who cannot afford it, can benefit from scholarships given by wealthy Nigerians who want to say, I want to sponsor as many young people as possible, or as many business owners as possible. Banks can say, I want to sponsor business owners that work with our institutions, or they're banking with us. And we will be ready to give them the opportunity to participate. But I can say to you, it is something that has a certain...
Mr. Linus Okorie, thank you, Leadership Development Coach with the GOTNI Global Leadership Center. Thank you so much. And this event is from the 29th of June. It's a 2-day conference, and starting 29th of June, Registration fee is $100 discounted, but the main fee is $199. At www.gotni.africa, there you go to do your registration, and it's virtual. After registration, you get the log-on details for the conference. Thank you. We wish you well, Mr. Linus Okorie. Sunrise will be back for the home stretch. Do stay with us.